Thank you all for being patient as we get this virtual meeting going. And we will go ahead and begin with a moment of silence. If you would please stand. Thank you. You may be seated. Again, I want to welcome you tonight to this virtual meeting and call this meeting to order at 5:10. Tonight's public comment and call to the public will be done in a virtual setting by filling out the form linked in the agenda item 4B titled Public Comment and Call to the Public. Please note the form must be completed before we get to that section in the agenda. Comments will be read into the record by artificial intelligence. When filling out the form, please make sure all comments follow policy 1-302. Comments that do not adhere to our policy will not be read. However, they will be shared with the board. In this virtual meeting, as with any in-person meetings, the speaker must be virtually present for their comment to be read. If you wish to submit a comment, please make sure the name, phone number you use on the comment form matches your virtual name and phone displayed. Thank you. We are now going to move to Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Thompson, will you please lead us in that? Please stand.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. We will begin tonight's meeting by playing a video on our governing board procedures, and then I will read a statement.
Welcome to the Mesa Public Schools Governing Board meeting. We appreciate your interest in the district. The 5 elected governing board members serve without compensation and volunteer countless hours. The president and the clerk of the board are elected in January. Under state law, the governing board may only discuss and vote on matters that are on the agenda for tonight's meeting. Agendas are posted a minimum of 24 hours in advance on the Mesa Public Schools website and in the Curriculum Services Center. Copies of tonight's agenda are located in the lobby. The public may speak on any item of business on the agenda that the board discusses or requires the board to take action. If you wish to comment on an action or discussion item, please complete a request to address the board form before the item is discussed. The form is located in the lobby. Members of the public will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to speak once recognized by the governing board president. Please state your name before you speak. We ask that all speakers show respect and courtesy to others. During the second regular meeting of each month, the agenda will include a call to the public, which is an opportunity to speak to the governing board about a school district matter that is not on the agenda. Please submit a request to address the board form to participate in the call to the public. If you would like the board to consider adding an item to a future agenda, you may submit your request in writing to the board at least 5 working days before that meeting. The superintendent or governing board president will consider your request. Thank you for your attendance and involvement in tonight's meeting.
This is an official governing board meeting. The board has important business to conduct that is essential to the operation of the district. It is the governing board's president's responsibility to maintain proper order so the board can conduct its business in an orderly and efficient manner. To my fellow board members and staff, because we are virtual, please keep your microphones on mute until you request to speak so we can keep the background noise at a minimum. And we will move now on to our calendar. Dr. Forless, will you please review the board calendar with us?
Thank you very much, Madam President. June 10th is our summer start time for board meetings, 5 o'clock, just like this evening. We will begin, that will be an in-person meeting. Again, June 10th, scheduled at 5 o'clock. On June 24th, our summer start time is 5 p.m. There will be a executive session scheduled at the end of that board meeting, and that is so that the governing board can receive legal advice. On July 8th, we have a summer start time at 5 p.m. And then July 22nd is also a summer start time at 5 p.m. Also want to let our public know that starting in August, there will be a change to the governing board meeting days and times. In August, the regular governing board meetings will be on Thursdays. It'll be the second and fourth Thursday of the month. We will continue to post the board agenda the Friday before. And with that, that concludes the calendar.
Thank you, Dr. Forless. We will now move into the public comment section. Just a quick reminder that policy 1-302 says that call to the public is limited to issues within the jurisdiction of the board. Mrs. Chaffee, how many speakers do we have signed up tonight?
We currently have 5 speakers signed up.
Okay, thank you. We are going to take a quick recess to get set up for the virtual public comment and call to the public. We should be back in about 5 minutes. If you'll just hang tight and we will be back shortly.
The governing board welcomes
Mrs. Hutchinson, I see that you're unmuted, but I didn't hear you talk. Can you do a test?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was, for some reason, it was a mirror setting or something, and I just unclicked it and I'm good. Thanks for your patience, guys.
Okay, thank you all for your patience. I think we're ready tonight. We have the comments tonight will be read by AI. And Ms. Kirby, we're going to turn the time over to you.
The Governing Board welcomes comments from the public on non-agenda items during the call to the public. Please remember, as a general rule, public comments will be limited to 3 minutes, and the duration of an open call to the public will be 15 minutes. The President may set specific time limits for speakers and the duration of the call to the public to maximize the opportunity for individuals to offer their viewpoints. Comments must pertain to a matter that is within the jurisdiction of the Governing Board. This is not an appropriate forum to complain about an employee, student, or others. Please use the procedures established in Policy 1-302 for this purpose. State law prohibits board members from commenting on or discussing the matters presented at the end of the call to the public. The board may ask the superintendent to review the issue or place it on a future agenda. A board member may also briefly respond to criticism of a board member or the governing board. Thank you for allowing this meeting to be conducted in a peaceful and productive manner.
This comment is from Kelly Berg on Agenda Item 8G, 2025 to 26 Compensation Plan and Budget Update. Madam President, board members, and superintendency, I am Kelly Berg, math teacher at Dobson High School and president of the Mesa Education Association. I would like to speak tonight on behalf of the compensation package that is being brought forward to you this evening. Through the meet and confer process with the district, administrators, classified employees, and classified supervisors, we were all able to agree upon the proposals in the compensation package for the 2025 to 2026 school year. With limited funding this year, our focus was on improving the working conditions where possible. All employee groups worked together to improve language and add clarification in all of our working conditions documents. The recommendations we are providing to you have been carefully created to honor the employees in all groups who serve our students and community. It is my hope that you will approve these recommendations. The additional one-time funding from the state is providing the means for the $900 stipend for all returning employees next year. Even though it is just one-time funding, it will still be a significant amount of pay for some employees. Thank you for your consideration in all of these matters. This comment is from Sandra Quillentang on Agenda Item 4B, Public Comment and Call to the Public. Hello, my name is Sandra, and we are Mesa residents. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share why I recently decided to move our son from public school to a private Christian school. From a very early age, I knew God had blessed our son with a high level of cognitive ability. He's been reading since he was 2, and has never really had to put too much effort in any subject to achieve his average grade of an A in honors classes in the public school system. Over winter break this year, our son shared with me that his group of friends would, on a daily basis, refer to him as chink or gay, which he is not, and when he would bring his Bible to school and read it at lunch, they would say he was depressed. These were his friends, and I know them well, and I don't believe they were bullying him, but based on conversations they would have at my house, I wasn't completely surprised about their comments. I just didn't realize this was happening daily. These kids are good kids with good hearts, but their values are very driven by worldly standards as opposed to God's Word. This was initially the reason we felt called to move our son to a private Christian school. His new school has challenged him academically. He used to be able to forget to turn in an assignment and be given full credit when he turned it in or perhaps scored low on a test, and given the opportunity to retake it and change his grade. At his new school, there are no second chances. If you don't put in the effort or you're not organized, you will simply get a 0. For the first time in all of his school years, our son has come home, opened up his books, and has averaged about an hour and a half of studying, sometimes even more. His new school holds him accountable, and I appreciate that. His goals are to attend major universities like USC or Belmont, and if that is where God places him, he will now be much more prepared for the level of responsibility they are expected to have at these universities. We weren't all created to want to achieve a place in a top-notch university, but we were all created for excellence, and I truly believe that the level of education, which is inclusive of social environments in our school, is critical in shaping the future achievements of our next generations. Thank you. This comment is from Joshua Quillentang on Agenda Item 4B, Public Comment and Call to the Public. Hello everyone, my name is Joshua. I am going to be a sophomore next year, and I have been moved schools 10 times in my life within the state of Arizona, the majority of them being public schools. It has been a decent experience until high school hit. I attended a public high school where the academics were not challenging at all. The teachers didn't put in much effort in their teaching or caring of the students. And on the social aspect at public high school, those who I called my friends were not the best influence on me. Although they were nice, they didn't lead the best examples, and it might not have been their fault, but the cold, worldly environment that we have been put in, and what they have accepted into their brains and hearts. In public school, there is vaping problems. The kids there call me names and make fun of me for being a Christ follower. And there are racial slurs written all over on the walls in the bathrooms. I mean, if you take a look at the things I've seen and heard some of the stuff I have heard, I don't think you'd want to go back to your own school. Both the academic and social sides of public school really moved me and my family to private Christian school, where I see that my teachers really care about me, my friends are exceptional role models, and the curriculum is rigorous and allows me to really do my best and prepares me for my future. This comment is from Tiffany Matthews on Agenda Item AG, 2025 to 26 Compensation Plan and Budget Update. My name is Tiffany Matthews, and I am the MESPA President. MESPA represents all of our classified employees. I'd like to take a moment to speak about the MESPA Meet and Confer process this year. I want to express my sincere gratitude to all the employee associations, as well as the district representatives, who dedicated significant time and effort throughout this process. In addition to our regularly scheduled meetings, we held smaller group sessions to dive deeper into discussions, and then reconvened with the larger group to share findings and continue meaningful dialogue. We made substantial progress on improving working conditions and successfully established a collaborative agreement, one that ensured every group's voice was heard and respected. We deeply appreciate the spirit of mutual respect and cooperation that guided these efforts, as all employee groups work together toward a shared goal, doing what is best for our employees so that we can best serve our students. At the same time, we want to acknowledge the hardship felt by many classified employees who lost their positions this year. While we are grateful for the one-time, across-the-board stipend, particularly for those returning and taking on additional responsibilities, it is a bittersweet gesture, given the loss of valued colleagues. Finally, we are appreciative of the inclusion of a reopener clause, which allows us to return to the table should the state allocate additional funding. Thank you again for your time, partnership, and continued commitment to our district community. This comment
And that is the end of public comment for people that are present.
Thank you. Thank you for the comments, and thank you for those running the comments and getting that all set up. We appreciate it. I know that took some time, so thank you. We will now be moving on to our review of the agenda. We'll now review the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are approved with one vote with no discussion. If a board member would like to pull a consent agenda item, please do so now. Don't see any. We will continue moving on to now our personnel request. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel request, including the addendum?
So moved.
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Kirby, will you please take our vote? Oh, sorry, I apologize. I can see the screen now. Okay, with a vote of 5 yeas, we've approved the personnel request, including the addendum. With this approval, we do have 2 incoming principals. We will recognize them at the June 10th board meeting. Moving on to our consent agenda items. All items will be considered as a group and will be approved with one motion. If a board member would like to spotlight or comment on a consent agenda item, please do so after the vote. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda according to the recommended action for each item?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Ms. Kirby, will you please take our vote? With a vote of 5 yeas, we've approved the consent agenda items according to the recommended action for each item. Moving now to 8 action items. Do I have a motion to approve the 2025-26 contract renewals?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second
I'll
it.
second.
We got 2. Thank you. Mr. Thompson, can you give us some background on this item?
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Yes, this evening you have 3 items in front of you that are what we've affectionately started to call the opening of the store. So this is preparing for the process of using contracts for next year, and procurement and our staff have to get ready to allow the purchasing that occurs on these contracts over the next few months. The lists that you have are for renewal of contracts that have either been awarded, as in item A, that we awarded and processed as Mesa Public Schools. We also use cooperative contracts, and we also have some sole source. Sole source specifically, want to address real quickly because it is a long list, is because a lot of times when we've done a procurement, we've done it with a vendor that might be a critical system like our student information system or our accounting system. And once the 5 years runs out, we might continue on with that because it would be more costly to move to a new contract. Doesn't mean we won't consider it, but as long as we continue with that vendor, they become sole source. So understand that most sole source started as a bid process and then transfers to a sole source. As I said, these are contract openings. The amounts that you're approving this evening were established based on historical patterns of spending. I often get asked, what controls as a board do we have over this? Your control over the spending comes from your approval of the budget, not really from the awarding of the contract, because these might be used by multiple different areas of funding throughout the district. So it doesn't mean that any one of these is going to be spent in our operations budget or something like that, for example. So the expense side of the use of the contract is controlled specifically by the budgetary restraints that we'll be approving as we did when we revised the budget in May and as you adopt a new budget for next year. So that's kind of the historical background of this process. It's an annual process. All of the contracts were brought to the board and approved with the full understanding of those contracts at the time. We also, I want to highlight, have on our public website under procurement a full list of all of our vendors, who's been awarded for that contract and what that contract does. That's been in place for 2 years now as we move to try to increase the transparency, financial transparency for the district. The procurement office made that a goal of theirs 2 years ago. And that list complements the lists you have this evening. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Appreciate that. Any board members, any questions, discussion?
Yeah, real quick. Under the first, this first set, we have an item for employee travel. I'm assuming that any employee travel for training or anything that is out of state comes to the board prior to anybody allowing out of state travel. Is that for training? Is that accurate?
I'm waiting to see if anybody else is going to jump in, but I'll jump in. Yes, out of state travel does need board approval. This year, we've also, in light of budget restraints, put in additional guide rails for ourselves for the use of travel, understanding that we have to be tight on our budget. So yes, and
Okay,
yes.
good. Okay, and then my only other question in regard to these, well, actually two. Under the food service, is there a possibility that our funding is going to be reduced with possible changes to the USDA and
Yes.
Uh,
Fair question. Right now, we do not have any information. The cuts that have already happened, there was a cut to buying locally, a program that was in place for a few years. That's already taken place. There are discussions that we're aware of, but no specifics on cuts to our food program at this time.
Okay, and then my final question is, these are maximums, correct?
So these
it's
would be
not
the
max.
amount. Yeah, that's a great question. So these are amounts that the opening of the store can now spend up to based on historical trend. If we get to that amount, then you often see this come back to you as a, hey, we've exceeded the amount that we need, and here's the reasoning why. And we bring it back to you for an additional increase at that time. So yes, they are really maximums until we bring them back for potential increase. And again, we always explain why we need the increase and what, because again, at this time of the year, it's a bit of a guessing game based on historical, but somebody might want more of something, or we might get an opportunity like we've been talking about with technology, where it might be advantageous for us to purchase something that we weren't planning on at the time. So again, these are limits. So yes, they are maximums.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're voting on that later on item D. So
Right, yes, yeah. That's just an example, but yes, that would be one where, again, opportunities have caused us to need to increase again a contract that was limited at the time.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this item? Okay. Appreciate the discussion, and Mr. Thompson, your help. Ms. Kirby, I think we're ready for a vote. With a vote of 5 yeas, we have approved the 2025-26 contract renewals. Moving on, do I have a motion to approve the 2025-26 cooperative contract renewals?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second
I'll
it.
second.
Thank you. Any discussion on this item? Okay, seeing none, Ms. Kirby, will you please take our vote? With a vote of 5 yeas, you've approved the 2025-26 cooperative contract renewals. Moving now to C. Do I have a motion to approve the annual sole source approvals for 2025-26?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Board members, any discussion on this?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
It should hopefully be quick. So several of these I notice, and possibly in the other contracts that we are renewing, some of these, like for example, fingerprinting, is this the district's overall outlay, or is this what we pay, but we get reimbursed because people are responsible for paying for their own fingerprinting, for example? Does that make sense?
If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Thompson, if you can help me out, this is ones that we submit. For example, volunteers, we're required to pay for a background check. The dollar value is low. That doesn't apply to all employees. For new hire employees, we do direct them to get fingerprinted at certain local places, and they go through that on their own. But we guide them to where to go. So this is more or less likely volunteers.
Okay. I didn't realize that volunteers didn't have to pay for their own fingerprinting.
No, and they're not, we're not able to charge them.
Oh, that's good to know.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Kirby, will you please take our vote?
I don't see a voting button, so Mrs. Benson votes yay.
Thank you. With a vote of 5 yeas, you've approved the annual sole source approvals for 2025-26. Moving now to D. Do I have a motion to approve a contract increase for $1 million for Apple computers for our career and technical education programs?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Rachel moved and Marcy seconded. Thank you. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
So I think I know the answer to this, but just for the sake of transparency, can somebody explain how this contract is different than the contracts we had last month? There were some laptops that were approved for CTE programming, and at that point we were explaining they're needed, but also we were trying to get ahead of price increases. And so could we get a little bit of background on these additional computer contracts?
Yes, Madam President, Member Walden, due to the availability of some additional CTED funds, we were able to work with Apple on that last refresh that we had, and they had a fast turnaround time. We have a refresh cycle every year that we look at and to see who needs that refresh. And because of that fast turnaround time and the availability of funds, we wanted to be able to use those funds right now to do the refresh a little bit early because of the availability to get those imaged and ready to go by the first day of school. We would be able to receive these computers that were already on the slate for next year to be refreshed by June 30th. So these will close out the additional multimedia programs that needed to be refreshed next year. And teachers will then have those available that first day of instruction, as opposed to refreshing mid-year and interrupting instruction, as well as hopefully avoiding extra tariffs and increase in prices.
Yeah, and this goes directly into the work that the students are doing in the classroom, right?
That's
Yeah.
correct. It's for the multimedia classrooms.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, discussion? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Kirby, will you please take our vote? With a vote of 5 yeas, you've approved a contract increase for $1 million for Apple computers for our career and technical education programs. Moving to E, do I have a motion to approve the instructional resources for MA 67 Financial Algebra and MA 57 Introduction to Statistics?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion?
No, these all went through the 60-day open process and everything, right? And I mean, I glanced, they look, I love that they're tying algebra to actual finances, because people don't actually understand that's what they're doing when they are looking at personal finance. You're actually using algebra.
Yes, thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Kirby, will you please take our vote? With a vote of 5 yeas, you've approved the instructional resources for MA 67 Financial Algebra and MA 57 Introduction to Statistics. Moving now to F. Do I have a motion to approve the 2025-26 stipend and temporary salary schedule?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I've really appreciated superintendency color coding the stipend schedule so we could see what already existed but was being added and what was new. That was really helpful because none of us are going to memorize 200 rows of stipend schedules. So thank you for putting in that extra work, and that helped us hone in on what the changes were and ask the right questions in our check-ins.
Agreed. I am always up for color coding, so thank you, Superintendency. Any other discussion? Oh, Sharon.
Yes.
I saw a
of course
wave.
I have questions, as always, because I am the input queen. All right, so I noticed a couple of stipends are duplicates, but there's no explanation as to why. So I can make an assumption. For example, there are 2 orchestras, there's 2 newspapers, there's 2 dramas, there's 2 AVID coordinators, just as an example, with 2 different amounts. For clarity's sake, I think, and I think we could still vote to approve these. I think. I'm not suggesting we change amounts or anything, but for clarity's sake, like I assume the higher level for orchestra at the 3675 would be for a high school orchestra teacher, and the 2100 would be for orchestra at junior high, possibly. But for clarity's sake and for like clear, this is if I'm, but I think we need to add a descriptor. Those were just 4 that I noticed. And is that assumption correct, Mr. Wing?
Yeah, you are correct. Good idea. We have it in our notes page, but we need to put it in the description page in like parentheses or something like that. So the first one, an orchestra, using that as example, it is for high schools. And then the 2100s for junior high schools. This was approved in a previous, this was approved in detail in a previous Mika Fur meeting, but doesn't stand out in the sheet you have. So you are correct.
Okay. And
we'll make those changes.
Just to make sure that it's clear. And then I had another question. There was one that was noted for coaching, and I've mentioned this to you before. When there's a, and I don't remember what sport it is, it might be track or something, where if you're coaching both the boys and the girls, you get one amount, but if you're just coaching one or the other, what do we do when we have situations where, like within the same sport, for example, a coach is coaching JV and freshman? So 2 separate teams, which would, on our stipend schedule, indicate that they should be receiving 2 separate stipends. I don't believe that's happening. So how do we handle that? Because, I mean, if we're giving our schools stipends for all of these different teams, and you are taking on you're coaching 2 teams, how are we handling that?
I mean, in general, we do have some stipends on here where if you're teaching or if you're coaching, excuse me, boys and girls, a sport, the same sport, that you get 1.5 times one of the stipends rather than 2 of each. Typically, it's a count matter. You know, the reason why they're teaching 2 different sports is because they don't have a full squad in either way. As far as the example of freshman and junior high, you know, to be honest with you, I'm not
junior varsity.
Oh, junior varsity, excuse me. Yeah, you're right. I need to get more information. I'll look into it and follow up with you on that. If you have an example, if you have an example, would you mind sharing that with me?
Well, I'll just tell you,
off air.
I'm sure she won't. I'm
Off air?
sure she won't. Oh, I can share it on here. I don't think she's no longer working for Mesa. But my daughter was a JV basketball coach for girls at Dobson, and she was coaching the freshman team. And I believe she just got one stipend, although there had been another JV coach or another coach slated for freshmen that didn't do it. So I know that they had the stipend.
I'll look
And
into
she
it and
might have
follow up.
gotten it and didn't pay attention, but what?
I'll look into it and follow up with the board.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, if we have the stipends available and you have, and I don't believe it was a lack of roster, I don't think.
But Mr. Wing,
Yeah.
if I may, President Davis, for 1 second here, I appreciate you looking into that. And we'll learn more on the follow-up. What we need to continue to work with, we're going to do a stipend audit this summer from a third-party company that comes in and audits our complete stipend list. And I think it's really important because this links to something that's running through a variety of different things in Mesa Public Schools. And it links to this idea that participation is so key. And, you know, if you want to preserve your sections as a teacher, it's really important that you go out and you make sure and ensure that kids are signing up for your class. I often had this pressure as an AP statistics teacher. You know, if I wanted sections of my AP stats class to make, I had to make sure kids signed up to take AP stats. I had to make my content relevant. I had to make it rigorous. I had to build relationships, and I had to recruit kids into that class. The reason I'm suggesting that the stipend audit is going to be important in this manner is as we continue to work with athletics, one of the key elements we need to convince our coaches of is that participation matters. And what I hear a little bit of is, you know, when you can't make a freshman and a JV team, you know, you often combine those teams and they have the same practice. And the only thing that's maybe different is you have to coach in 2 games. But part of my questioning techniques roll back to how do we get coaches, how do we get staff to continue to encourage participation so that we don't have to have joint stipends like this, so we can actually have a freshman team and actually have a JV team and stipends don't have to be combined. My whole point being, I appreciate you wanting to look into it, but we're going to have to continue to wonder and think about how involvement and what kids are demanding participation in matters. It matters a lot. And so we're going to have to continue to work with our school administrators and all of our coaches and all those people collecting stipends to help people understand the more we can do to get kids and encourage kids to be involved, the better off those kids are going to be and the better off our system's going to be at large. Thanks for looking into it, Mr. Wing.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none. Ms. Kirby, will you please take our vote?
Sorry, can I do one more?
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't see you.
Can I suggest a stipend for next year that we consider? Is this the appropriate time, or should I just do that individually with you, Dr. Strom?
I would prefer that be individual. What we think's
Okay.
going to happen is we think the stipend audit's going to tell us some things. And then we think we're going to probably have to put together a design team around stipends so that we can consider these stipends as a whole. Please remember that one of our efforts in this first phase is to try to get as many school-based personnel preserved as we possibly can. And that's why it's really important to examine the approximately $40 million we spend a year on stipends and understand exactly what we're getting for the stipends that we're paying for. Once that happens, then your feedback along with a design team, we can get that integrated in a process so we can continue to create really efficient stipend schedules. And the goal, just to be frank, will be to understand how we're spending those dollars in stipends so we can preserve as many jobs in Mesa Public Schools as we possibly can headed into the 26-27 school year. So if you could give that to me in a one-on-one fashion, that'd be great.
Yep, will do. Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, Ms. Kirby, I think we're ready for a vote. With a vote of 5 yeas, we've approved the 2025-26 stipend and temporary salary schedule. Moving on to our compensation plan, do I have a motion to approve the 2025-26 compensation plan?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Thank you. Mr. Wing, will you please share your presentation with us?
Certainly. While you're pulling that up, I just want to thank the Meet and Confer team, comprised of certified personnel, classified hourly, classified salaried administrators, district representatives, probably about 25 of us meeting regularly from November until just recently. So I want to thank them for their diligence and their time. So here are our recommendations. You go ahead and go to the next slide. I'll start off with a recommendation for Meet and Confer, and this was a recent one, and that is to provide a $900 one-time payment for returning employees next school year. It will be prorated on FTE, so a half-time individual would receive half of that $900, but all full-time, regardless of role, will receive $900. A little over $4 million will be paid from our classroom site fund, and that'll be applied to eligible certified employees. And in our most recent governing board meeting, Mr. Thompson shared with you that the state provided us one-time M&O dollars. That will not be ongoing, budgeted only for next year. Meet and Confer leveraged that in our recent meeting to provide one-time payment to non-eligible classroom site fund folks. So in all, a $900 stipend for returning employees. This will not be applicable to new employees, however. Next slide. Recommendation B. Currently, staff have one opportunity to submit college credit completions to Human Resources for a salary adjustment. Meet and Confer recommended that we add one in the middle of the year. So now that we have two, this just avoids somebody having to complete a college credit late July and has to wait 12 months before the salary adjustment. There'll be a mid-year opportunity for those individuals. Next. This one's a 1-year only recommendation. It's for 4 different job titles within Mesa Public Schools, really focusing on the secretary and the registrar or office specialist at elementary and junior high schools, those who are less than 12 months. Currently, they do not work the day following fall break and winter break. And Meet and Confer is recommending next year only, allowing those office personnel to work those days following those breaks. Teachers are on campus, administrators on campus. It's a non-student day, however. Recommendation D. Meet and Confer is recommending that we cap an hourly rate for 9-month classified employees who accept temporary jobs outside of their normal job during the summer. So you may have bus drivers, instructional aides, for example, completing different tasks that's outside their normal job description during the 9-month setting. And Meet and Confer is recommending that they receive their current hourly rate not to exceed $25 per hour. And then finally, recommendation E is to establish salary schedules similar to the stipend salary schedule the governing board you just approved. This one would be salary schedules for all of our other pay grades. These salary schedules will include starting and ending salaries per pay grade. The memorandum presented to you shows the visuals and the details of those, or each salary schedule, excuse me. Our intention is to bring to you those salary schedules every year moving forward, with Meet and Confer making recommendations to it if applicable. I will share also that communication is intended to go out tomorrow to all staff regarding these recommendations and the results of tonight's decision regarding them. Just wanted to give everybody an update because school has let out last week. And I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Wing. Board members, any questions?
I've got a question. Well, not really a question. I just have some comments actually. So one is I really like that we have the salary ranges listed. I think that, the board and the district has been striving for greater transparency. We're able to see that transparency. We have more contracts listed as action items as opposed to the consent agenda. And it really plays into that here with these salary ranges. So the public knows and everyone knows what's the minimum and what's the maximum for that salary range. It is something that, our superintendency knows this is very common across industries out in the workforce, in the private sector, especially the public sector, like all government jobs have pay grades listed for that transparency. But I also think that it's empowering for employees so that when they're looking at a job, they know what the maximum or the minimum is for that job, and that can help them plan for maybe extra schooling or extra work they want to do. If there's a career they want to progress into or a salary range they want to progress into, it's already spelled out in this documentation. So I think that's really important as well. Adding that extra day that's been asked for, I almost think of it as a pilot. I know it's not officially a pilot, but saying we're going to try this out, but it's just for the one school year. I think that's a good move too. I think it's always important that we're open to piloting things, especially when the employees are asking for it. And I was told earlier today, there's no shortage of work for a principal. And no matter what's going on, if you give them a day of work, they're going to find stuff that they need to do. So I think these are all good changes. I know everyone wants to pay employees more. I'll just add, the board doesn't get paid. So just throwing that out there. But I feel like I can tell from my colleagues, like really sympathetic to costs and inflation and price increases, and everybody is really on board with wanting to give raises and do whatever we can. And while there's not an actual pay increase, I know that if there is unexpected monies that come in or something in the budget, that we then have the right to meet again and discuss if there's more that we can give to employee benefits and raises. So just throwing that out there for people that may forget or not know, we can always, if there's unexpected monies, come back to the drawing table and try to offer more. It's always an option. So that was all. Just good feedback. No questions.
Thank you for that feedback. Any other questions, discussion?
Madam President, if I might.
Yes, Mrs. Hutchinson.
I really want to thank the meet and confer teams of MEA, MESPA, MAC, and Mesa, as well as our HR department. To be working on November is truly a labor of love, and that we have a collaborative agreement where we heard from the two presidents that they felt respected and that there was great cooperation. And I know Ms. Berg mentioned that it honors all employees, and I think that that's something that fills my heart, because this is the first time as a board member I've not been able to offer a raise to our employees. And in light of the many lost positions, particularly classified positions, I think our employees are showing a lot of grace in that they did not seek a raise, and that they tried to save contracts instead, the contracts of their colleagues. And this is only, I hope, going to serve our children, but I think we all need to realize that the contracts that were saved, we're expecting more work. And I hope that the $900 demonstrates a will of this board to honor them. And I do want to echo what Board Member Walden said, is that this is not what we hoped we could offer. We know how hard our employees work to serve our children, but if there should be an opening, we will gladly reopen the negotiations and see what we can do for employees. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other?
Mr.
Yes.
Yeah,
Go
I really like the salary schedule. I don't know what each codification is, but is that going to be on the website?
It is on our intranet page, Mrs. Benson, where everybody internally with an account in Mesa Public Schools has access to it.
Okay, we're not putting it on the public.
No, it'll be provided on job postings for individual jobs,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's more of an internal schedule. But like I shared, if we're posting a third grade job, that'll be present in that job posting.
The salary range.
Yep.
Okay, and then I have a quick question on your suggestion number D, the capping the rate of pay if they're doing summer work at 25. Approximately, is the thinking behind that, if we cap it at 25, we can have more people working if it's a person that's making 35, for example?
Hopefully I'm speaking well for the meet conferred team. There's a couple of reasons. One is our non-instructional rate for certified teachers is $25 an hour. So we aligned it with the teacher rate. And that was intentional. So yeah, you're correct. If you're making $50 an hour and you're doing a temporary job in the summer, that's a different job outside of your normal 9-month job. You'll be paid at the max $25. If you're paid at $21 during the year, you'll continue to earn $21 for that summer. Yep, for that summer assignment. But it was based on the non-instructional rate of a teacher.
Okay, and that was probably in there, and it escaped me. So we do have the possibility of being able to do something more depending upon what the state legislature does, correct? Because it's my understanding that, our budget presentation back in January was such that we, eliminating positions, we were going to, the assumption there was that we would not have Prop 123 money. We will for this year. The legislature's already guaranteed that it would be backfilled from the general budget, is my understanding. Is that correct?
I think Mr. Thompson may have to help me out on this one. I am not aware.
Or is that not set in stone yet?
I mean, I know whatever like the Prop 123 was paying out became part of the new base level funding. So like what districts were previously receiving for that is added to the new base level funding that the JLBC does. But I think in the Prop 123, like to get additional money from that, there won't be a decision on that this session. That'll be next session. Is that what you were asking about, Mrs. Benson?
Yes, but my understanding was that the legislature is backfilling from the general overall budget what we would have gotten from Prop 123 money this year.
Yes.
Is that not right?
Yes. Yeah, that's added to the new base level funding.
That starts for 25-26, so not current school year. But
it's not the school year?
No, right.
No, next school year. This school year still has Prop 123 covering it. Next year's budget and next year's state budget will have to pick up $300 million that will not be provided any longer by the state trust because 123 has expired. It's expiring this year that we're in.
Year.
Yeah, we're almost to the end of it, so it feels like it doesn't matter,
Correct.
but it's 25-26 that the backfill will begin.
Okay.
Correct.
I think
Mr.
But
Tom,
go ahead. Sorry.
just real quick, Mr. Thompson. It was my understanding that was built into the baseline JLBC budget, built in the governor's budget, but the budget bill hasn't passed yet, correct?
Yes, that is correct. It is.
Yeah.
So the baseline that the Joint Legislative Budget Committee creates, which is really where the budget starts at and then negotiates from there, already contemplates the $300 million coming from the general fund, no longer coming from Prop 123. So that is expected to be funded at this point. Of course, we don't have a final decision yet, as you said, Dr. Strong.
Okay, so then my question is, so are all of our, what we've done from the projected, why we did a reduction in force was to save, was under the assumption that we would not have that $3 million, whatever it was, from Prop 123. So if the budget goes through and the legislature is backfilling it, not from the trust, but from the general budget, we will be able to more than likely come back and do something more for our employees. Is that my understanding, or am I
Yeah, I never thought as a
too
board.
Pollyanna?
No, I didn't think as a board member the reduction in force had anything to do with Prop 123. I thought it had to do with declining enrollment and having less of a head count and just a smaller. We had less students, so needed less staff. That was my impression. I didn't think those two were connected.
Well, they are slightly connected, because the reduction in force saved us 17, almost $18 million.
Madam President, Member Benson, let me clarify. I think we're getting a little confused here. The 300 million backfill is basically the commitment the state has to funding the base level amount per student plus a minimum of 2% and or inflation, but at a minimum they have to do 2%. That's the 300 million. There's also an additional 75 million. I think that's what you're referring to. And the 75 million was originally intended as back pay for the amount that the state had not provided the districts during the recession. That is also currently in the JLBC's budget, but whether that makes it through or not is more questionable than by law, by the initiative that have been passed, they have to fund the base level funding. Whether the additional 75 million continues to be funded is more questionable and is not currently contemplated in the concepts we've shared with you around what we think the budget might look like. So
okay,
we'll see how that all plays out. We don't have a budget yet.
But as far as the reduction in force, I didn't think that 123 was related to that.
You are correct. Reduction in force was purely on our projections for declining enrollment due to demographic reductions in our particular kindergarten level as we see larger high school classes graduate, as we just saw last week, and smaller kindergarten classes coming in. That is the number one driving force behind why the decisions to reduce force occurred.
And then
yes, and I understand that.
Oh,
But in that budget presentation, I was looking at, so the I was looking at if the, and this is perhaps where I'm not, so the commitment by the legislature is to ensure that the 2% that is constitutionally required to be provided will happen. But the extra percentage that's taken out of the trust is still up in the air.
That's correct.
Okay.
That is not, it's not protected and we don't have a budget. So could it be funded? Yes. Will it be funded? We don't know yet. So we have to wait and see if that money arrives. When that arrives, right now we're in, they're on recession and it could be late in June, and these may be decisions that have to be made in July and August. We've kind of been here before where the legislature comes in late with a budget. So we'll have to just wait and see how this plays out over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think it's helpful to know too that the governing board approved all of our employment contracts language in a further away previous board meeting, and that'll permit us, in case something does come up one way or another, that we could renegotiate if necessary, or if the opportunity exists.
Madam President,
Yes. Mrs. Hutchinson?
I think I just want to make sure that we clarify as well that Prop 123, also known as a classroom site fund, is only for teachers and teachers as defined by statute. So it would not apply to all employees, only teachers that are in the classroom. I just want to make a clarifying statement there.
Thank you for that. Any other questions, comments, discussion?
I have one more just
Yes.
comment / question. So on the pay scales, we have a maximum. I just want to confirm and just publicly, so in case other people are wondering, we don't have very many employees that are over the maximum for their job, but those employees will be transitioned as legacy employees when this pay scale goes into effect. Is that correct?
That is correct. The slide deck doesn't go through all of the details. If individuals watching this can go to the memorandum that's posted on the governing board agenda, they'll see those details. You are correct. Those who are beyond the ending salaries will not lose any wages.
Okay, good.
They're considered legacied.
Yeah, no, that's good. And there is that document, when we had asked like about the pay scale and having to log in, but currently it's out there on the agenda too. So anybody can go and pull up that document in the agenda. And it shows, you're not going to know what the job description number means, but it shows the minimum and maximum ranges for the different jobs currently. And I really like how you pushed the ESI start date for these changes to go into effect for people on ESI, that it's not until September. So that gives people a chance to plan and prepare for their ESI and returning salaries. So another good thing that's in those details too for people that might want to pull up that document and get into the nuts and bolts of it.
Thank you. Mrs. Chaffee, I believe you had a comment or question.
Yep, I just wanted to say that I wanted to echo the sentiments shared earlier. I really appreciate the collaboration and the transparency that this plan represents. So thank you to everyone who came to the table and talked about it. And I appreciate the discussion that we've had tonight. I think it's really allowed some good information to be shared, and I appreciate that from all of my board members.
Thank you. And I echo everyone too. I also want to thank the meet and confer process and all those involved and the collaboration. And I hope as we work together as a board, as a district, as all of our groups, that we can all collaborate together and do what is really best for our students and our staff. And so I appreciate all the work that's been going forth and continue. And with that, I believe we are ready to vote, Ms. Kirby. With a vote of 5 yeas, we've approved the 2025-26 compensation plan. Moving into our last item of business, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
The longest seconded we've had tonight on usually our fastest moving item. Really quick, I know, just real quick for discussion, I just want to thank all of those that helped with making this a virtual meeting, testing this out to see how this would work. I know back in the COVID days, this became a normal thing, but with the new board and new things, we thought we'd try it out and see how this worked. And I appreciate everyone's patience as we tried this, and those that worked hard to work on the comments and to read those. And if there were issues with those making comments, I would please email the board your comments. If we did miss those, I apologize. We were hoping to make this as easy as a process for everyone, and I just wanted to thank everyone for their patience and help in doing this meeting tonight. And with that, Ms. Kirby, will you take our vote? With a vote of 5 yeas, the meeting is adjourned at 6:24. Thank you all for your participation tonight and your help. And again, note that our next meeting will be a summer start schedule with a 5 o'clock start time. So Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.